Hey there, I hope everyone's all right. This time around I thought we'd take a look at a book that I'm adding to my library of knife books, such as it is. This is the complete book of U.S. military pocket knives by Michael W. Silvey. This is the 2015 copyright version. I believe there's a lot of versions out there. This one happens to be a hardcover. And Michael Silvey, I guess, is an expert on U.S. military knives because I noticed he has at least 6 other books on U.S. military knives. This book is 216 pages and it's just full of high-quality color photographs. So it's a really nice book, and let's just take a look at it. I guess the best place to start is just a peek at the table of contents. Let's take this jacket off. Make it easier to handle. By the way, I bought this book used from a used book outfit by the name of Abe Books, A-B-E, Abe Books. I just did a Google search on it, and I found on some of these knife books, if you'll do that Google search and buy your book from a used book dealer, you can often get a better price than you can by buying it on Amazon or eBay. So here are the table contents, and I'll just let you take a look at those. But mainly the book is organized into 4 areas, or 4 eras. The first folders, World War I, World War II, and then post-war. So let's just take a look at what we have there. The first folders, each section starts with a little background and a little essay there. The first folders are, mostly pre-World War I, maybe even Civil War or pre-Civil War, and they are Navy rope knives. So, they are a one-bladed jackknife, bare-headed jackknife with a sheep's foot blade. Very basic knife, and that really was the only military knife prior to World War I. A lot of the very early ones were made, of course, in England, Sheffield, England. Some were made by early U.S. cutlers. You can see it's predominantly Navy rope knives. Here you've got a kind of a little chow knife from the Ulster Knife Company. That's interesting. That's kind of an outlier. And then you get into the second section is the World War I knives. Again, a little essay here. And these are mostly, again, Navy rope knives, and now you're seeing mostly U.S. cutlers. Also, beyond the Navy rope knives here, you get into signal corps knives. These easy open 2-bladed jackknives, and then here's kind of a cattleman's knife. Also into the electrician's knives. One thing I really like about this book is just the way he's pretty well devoted a page to each knife and given you a very large color photograph. He will either put an insert picture of the tang stamp or give you text exactly as the stamps appear. The other thing that he does that makes it easy to read is that he takes 3 basic stats: overall length and the composition of the liners and the bolsters, and he puts that in a little table for each knife. So then you have kind of just a little discussion of each knife, the background, purpose of it, who it was issued to, things like that. The book is laid out mostly in chronological order, even within these eras like World War I, World War II. And so there's some general timelines given, but no specific dates of manufacture for each knife, which you might find frustrating if you're trying to date a knife exactly to a certain year, but I can understand why he did that because there's a lot of unknowns and a lot of overlap. So now you get into World War II, and this is when you get into the things that I collect, which are these multi-bladed utility knives. And so these were mostly called engineer knives in World War II, kind of a four-bladed utility knife, engineer knives. They also had some three-bladed versions. Lots of those, lots of good information. Then you're going to get into some of these three-bladed pilot knives. You've got Navy, kind of a general utility knife here, so it's a two-bladed jackknife. Let's see what else we have. World War II, of course, is when really the knife varieties, the pocket knife, the folders kind of exploded. Before that, as you can see, the military pocket knives before World War I were mostly just, you know, signal corps knives, electrician knives, and Navy rope knives. Here's my Ulster Mountain pocket knife. I do have a few U.S. military pocket knives. We'll come back next time and I'll show you what we have. But this is just about the book today. You also get into these, what are they called? Air Force auto knives, or auto knives for paratroopers. Really cool. You know, one of the first switchblades there. There are also some multi-tool knives. These were called escape knives. They had saws. I guess you could saw through things with them. Escape. Some escape knives. Lockpick knives. Very, very interesting. Then you get into the TL29 signalman, lineman or electrician's knives. And, you know, there's just a ton of those. And some of the earlier ones had bone handles. Most of them had wooden handles. Many of them were stamped, either with TL29 or the branch of the service. There's just a lot there. You could collect a ton of those. Most with bales, some without. Also, you have a section here, of course, on the demo or milk knives. These were the all-metal four-bladed utility knives that replaced the engineer knife, the more expensive to make bone-handled engineer's knife. Here are your Air Force or Navy pilot survival knives. And then you get into the section on post-war. And again, a lot of these are just the same models that were issued during the wartime that were made after the war by different makers. Again, here are some of your auto knives for paratroopers, you know, TL29 type of lineman's knives. Lots of those. More demo knives. Here's that three-bladed, I'm not really sure, it's like Stockman's knife. I'm not really sure who got that. Looks like the U.S. Navy. So there you go. You know, here are some of the knives that were not in World War II. C4 knives, the black knife. I'm really not very schooled in this area, not very familiar with it at all. Here you've got some like Navy rope knives that now have the safety can opener, quite a few of those. And then finally some multi-tools. Red Cross knife, there's a CIA multi-tool, that would be really cool to get. All blackened out Leatherman tool, standard issue multi-tool. And then in the back of the book, a couple of things that I thought were really great, really helpful were tank stamps or logos. And there was also a timeline, dates to remember. And again, not on specific knives, but just on knife construction and the materials used in those, and when you might see certain things stamped on the knife, like country of origin marks, you know, when you could expect certain materials like Bakelite to show up, etc. And some dates on the wars. So just a really great knife book. You know, if you're interested in U.S. military pocket knives, or this book in particular, there's been a really good sneak peek at it. And again, I'll come back with the next video. We'll just take a look at the very few military pocket knives that I have. Thanks for watching, and have fun collecting.